Kicking off 10 minutes of international news, I'm Carl Azus. Welcome to CNN 10. First story this Thursday, a clash in the European nation of Sweden. Riots broke out one night earlier this week in a neighborhood of the capital, Stockholm. A regional police chief says the violence might have been triggered by increased police pressure on criminals in the area. The neighborhood of Rinkeby is known for having high levels of unemployment. It's also known for having a high immigrant population. Before the riots broke out, U.S. President Donald Trump suggested that immigrants in Sweden were responsible for an increase in crime across the country. Some Swedes praised President Trump for drawing attention to the issue. Some said there is no issue, that a recent increase in immigrants has not made Sweden less safe. The country has accepted more refugees per capita than any other European nation. So the debate is raging, even though the violence has calmed.
Mattias Karlsson is a leader of the right-wing Sweden Democrats, the third largest party in parliament.
I think Sweden is a good example to put forward as a bad example. If you don't control the borders, if you have a irresponsible refugee policy, you will get problems, and we have serious problems here in Sweden.
Is it a crisis here?
Yes, I would describe it as a crisis. We have seen serious problems with law and order.
As evidence, Karlsson points to a riot that erupted in the Stockholm suburb of Rinkeby Monday night. A police spokesman says officers fired at least 2 shots when dozens of rioters attacked police officers during the arrest of a crime suspect. 10 cars were torched in the unrest, and 1 police officer suffered a bruise to the arm from a thrown object. Hours later, the scene in this largely immigrant community looked very different.
This is the center of Rinkeby. Now that we're here, I've got to be honest. As a first-time visitor, it's hard to believe that less than 24 hours ago, this was the scene of a full-blown riot.
More than a dozen police officers deployed in the central square. Several shop windows were smashed, but families with small children appear to be going about their business as usual.
Is Sweden in crisis right now?
No, it's not at all a crisis. Look around. I mean, it's very calm, very quiet. Of course, there are isolated incidences that happen, but police are dealing with them.
Magnus Ranstorp is a counterterrorism expert at the Swedish National Defense College.
I'm not denying that there are integration issues, but what I think is wrong to do is to conflate immigration, crime, and terrorism, because those linkages are not that strong.
During the peak of the European migrant crisis of 2015, more than 160,000 new arrivals crossed Sweden's borders. Sweden has since tightened border controls, reducing the flow of migrants by imposing temporary passport checks at the border. In a 4-year period, when Sweden granted asylum to more than 100,000 refugees, crime grew by 7%. Meanwhile, state figures show the Muslim immigrant community in Sweden is increasingly under attack. Like much of the rest of Europe, this Scandinavian country is grappling with immigration, assimilation, and the threat of Islamic extremist terrorism. Very complicated challenges at the heart of a growing global political debate.
Yesterday, astronomers announced that they've discovered 7 Earth-sized planets, all orbiting the same star. The findings were published in the journal Nature. NASA says this is a record number of these kinds of planets orbiting this kind of star. It also believes that 3 of the planets are in what's called the habitable zone. Scientists define that as the space around a star where a planet is most likely to have water. This isn't exactly in our neighborhood. They say the star is 40 light years away and that it'd take a human spacecraft millions of years to get there. So how did researchers identify planets at that distance? While examining stars with a telescope based in Chile, they saw shadows occasionally interrupting the starlight. They say that these shadows indicated that planets were passing between the telescope and the star, like eclipses. What they're hoping to do in the future is determine the planet's atmosphere and whether they really have liquid water. 10-second trivia. Where would you find the world's deepest blue hole, a sinkhole filled with water? Lake Okeechobee, Atlantic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, or South China Sea? Researchers say the world's deepest blue hole, which sinks almost 1,000 feet deep, is located in the South China Sea. That title used to belong to Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas. It's a location popular with freedivers. This is like a marine extreme sport. Freedivers literally take a deep breath, then descend into the depths without a breathing apparatus. It's dangerous. Freedivers can get lung damage, they can black out or die from doing this. But for those willing to take the risks, their love for the sport goes well below the surface.
I'd be lying if I said I've never been scared. I've had 2 occasions where I sort of thought you're not going to make it. But as long as you keep your composure, everything seems to work out. My name is Jonathan Sunnix. I'm 30 years old from New Zealand. We're on Long Island in the Bahamas at the beautiful Dean's Blue Hole. I'm a professional freediver. Competitive freediving is where we compete to see who can swim the furthest, the deepest, or hold their breath for the longest.
Jonathan Sunnix.
The current world record is 128 meters. We've achieved things that doctors once thought were impossible. We're exploring the capabilities of the human body, pushing ourselves to see what the human body can really do. I feel like I'm just getting started. We couldn't have designed anything better. This is like the freediving mecca. People come from all over the world. It is the place to dive. We're here in preparation for Suunto Vertical Blue, which is one of the most prestigious freediving competitions in the world. One of the things that lured me into the sport was the whole science behind it. Before I dive, I'll go through a whole preparation, and that will include stretching of the body, stretching of the lungs, the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles. Packing is adding extra air to your already full lungs by using the mouth as a pump. I would estimate that I would pack at least an extra litre into my lungs. And then I'll come down to the beach. I'll visualise my dive. Whilst I'm making my deepest dives, what goes through my mind is always positive thoughts, positive energy. It's like a form of meditation. You're very deep within yourself. The physical sensation I get through diving, it touches on all senses, what you can see, what you can hear, or maybe even it's the lack of noise. During dives, our heart rates drop down to below 30 beats per minute. When we're going down to depths where we've got basically the length of a football field above us, it's not the sort of place where you want to have any sort of negative thoughts. When I make it to the surface after a big dive, it's almost a spiritual experience. There's quite a famous quote: a scuba diver will go underwater to look around, and a freediver will go underwater to look inside himself.
For 10 out of 10, waiting patiently is not a trick this dog knows. When her owner ran inside to pick up some fast food, Diamond, her name's Diamond, decided to make a little scene, barking and honking for her owner to hurry up. And she didn't just do it once. No, Diamond seemed to take a shine to the car horn. And the word on the street is that she's been spotted doing this in other places around her hometown in Ohio. At least she can't get a ticket for noise pollution. We don't know why she so doggedly opposed her owner's absence, why she was so honked off, why she just hates to terrier, but we can say she is truly a diamond in the rough. I'm Carl Azus, and that is CNN 10.